Okay, thank you so much. So I'm Wang Ziyu. I'm from Hong Kong Baptist University, and this is my co-author, Dr. Zheng Wenjuan from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. We are very excited to join this panel because our research actually directly touches upon the platform economy. In particular, our research is about the recruitment process and how the identification of two persons in the platform economy can exert control over workers. So shall I continue on with the presentation, or shall I wait for other things? So then let's carry on. We are very excited to share our research here today. So as we probably are quite familiar with, in the era of Internet of Everything, data has become the most crucial asset for maintaining economic competitiveness and in shaping our social life. For example, the accumulation of user data can also be presented as a national security concern, as seen by the Congress attempt to ban TikTok, as well as the ongoing lawsuit by the European Union against Google. So our research actually follows up this news or these trends that we are looking into the angle through datafication, which is the exhaustive storage and transformation of social actions into quantified data. And datafication's usage has been widely discussed in a lot of aspects in society, and our research actually touches upon a very less discussed angle, which is how the massive collection of job applicants' data, by quantifying all of our personal and professional information, including your education, your employment history, can be used by the company to reinforce its market power. And the reason why we choose to focus on platform economy and choose to talk about the TikTok and Google this industry alike is because for high-tech industry in China, they have been repeatedly reported for creating an abusive, exploitative overtime working culture known as the 996 schedule. Let me elaborate about it. So the 996 actually means that you have to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And very surprisingly, despite this overtime schedule has been so prevalent, in China, the high-tech industry still have over 8 million current workers. So not only it represents one of the most popular working destinations, it also includes a new working class who are educated, productive, young, and remarkably subservient to this very long working hour schedule. And these high-skilled workers even often mock themselves as being disposable truth persons, which means that they even consider themselves as an instrument used by the company to be exploited to extract surplus value. So our research actually wishes to answer the question is that how does these high-tech companies, how do the platform economy can select employees who are most likely to conform with the overtime working culture, to conform with the pre-existing 996 schedule. And we want to wonder whether actually recruitment produces workers with the ideal attributes and aptitudes even before they join the company. So our research is about the labor control in the labor control theory. So we situated our theoretical background based on Barrow. So Barrow actually answered the question over how to enable the maximum extraction of surplus value and how to exploit as much as possible. And his answer is actually quite surprising. Barrow thinks that for employers, for management, their key concern is not about efficiency itself, but rather to win the workers' heart and mind, for the workers to voluntarily be exploited. And Barrow argued that the make-out games played by workers, which is basically you compete with your fellow workers and you surpass the production quota, during you playing this game to compete with each other, it actually legitimizes the control. It actually gives you job satisfaction and make you forget that you are being exploited. And borrower further argued that the internal transfer opportunities, like giving you hints that you will be able to promote it if you work well enough, and the illusionary collective bargaining power further legitimized the overtime schedule. And along this way, there are quite a lot of research that conducted on the labor control discipline, which actually given rise to the digital terrorism and algorithm control. However, as you can see that this line of research generally have followed the labor control paradigm in the production phase. So it looks like quite similar to the borrower's master narrative that the previous literature on the labor control have generally focused within the production phase only. It generally tends to argue that control only happens during the workplace, regardless or independent of the particular people who come to work or of the particular agent of production. So this is what we want to challenge. We want to argue that maybe that's not the case. Maybe recruitment instead can function as an important structural determinant in determining what kind of workers can be joined, in determining how the employers can manufacture their consent. So in our research, what we are trying to do is to propose a concept that recruitment can function by pre-manufacturing consent. We consider that recruitment, rather than being an economic activity out of market competition that is based on our skills we learn at school or things like that, rather we consider it serves as the apparatus of control to maximize the possibility of hiring ideally submissive true persons and reduce the likelihood of workers' resistance to the abusive working culture. So we argue that recruitment pre-manufactures their consent to control before workers join the workplace. And we address this question that recruitment pre-manufacture consent through three mechanisms: datafication, lengthy interview process, and illusionary language framing. So let me carry on. So we conducted our research by a 4-month ethnography as a recruiter at one multinational tech giant based in China, but also have offices around the Europe and around the world, and supplemented with 10 follow-up interviews with HRs and job seekers. And the first thing that caught our eyes when we are doing ethnography at this platform economy is the use of referral codes, which at the first glance appears to be quite similar to the traditional referral system. I'm not sure if you have previously practiced it, but it is actually a very traditional and a very powerful recruitment strategy. However, the referral system at the platform company in China, actually, you can see on the image, it is made up of 6 or 7 digits. It's very easy to use, and it doesn't require any additional information from the referrer or from the job seeker. It is used by the job seekers when they are submitting their online job applications. And once a successful offer is made, the referrer will receive a referral bonus of up to 100 USD. So you can see that with this referral code being so easy to use, the existing employees tend to post their referral codes all over the internet to attract other people to apply so that they can accumulate this referral bonus. And very surprisingly, the companies that we previously interned at have taken no action to stop the widespread abuse of referral bonus, but instead actually encourage it. As stated on the company that submitting a resume with a referral code with only this 6 or 7 digits will give candidate priority. And we found that this is actually a marketing strategy to attract more candidates to apply, as told to us by one of our interviewees, Mr. Wang, that although I may not have been interested in applying for a position at this company before, but the allure of the referral code and its very easy usage convinced me to apply, thinking that I might have a golden entrance ticket. However, all recruiters, and including my personal experience, can confirm that this referral code because it carries absolutely no information about the candidate's skills or its qualifications. So it also have no use in prioritizing candidates during recruitment. And the reason why we found this to be so problematic is because the true purpose is to expand the digital talent pool as much as possible, to attract more people to apply as much as possible. Because once a candidate joins the recruitment process, once the candidate joins the interview, a necessary step for them to do is to hand in their payslip. So they have to tell the company one by one about their salary information, which can happen during the phone interview as well as during the submission of payslips. And because the company can store so many information, particularly given it's a platform company, it has the technology to store so much information. This salary data can be used to constantly replace workers with the cheapest labor possible, because there are always more affordable alternatives in the talent pool. And that's exactly what the company has been doing, to use this digital talent pool and to attract more people through datafication, then to make the salary to the lowest point possible. So let's moving on. Let's take a closer look at this chart I have drawn based on my ethnography. That you can see that in platform economy in China, they actually follow a quite tedious, a quite long and time-consuming interview process. It includes a written test from here and then 3 to 4 rounds of interviews if you want to get an offer. So at first, we actually thought that maybe Chinese companies, they are actually copying from US big techs. But then we later learned about that even for Google and Amazon, they only have 1-day interview to complete their whole recruitment process. So another guess would be, you would probably imagine that by going through this long process, long tedious process, it is used to better examine abilities. However, that's not the case what we have found either. Let's start with the written test first. So despite the companies that we interned actually prioritize creativity in their slogan, the written tests hardly examine any originality, but are more about following the correct answers, meaning that the form of the written test is actually quite similar to college entrance exams as told to us by one of our interviewees. So within only 2 hours, the test takers are required to complete a dozen of multiple choice questions and several complex coding questions. So they often need to actually rely on reviewing available questions online so that they can memorize the correct answers to pass the exam on time, or else they will just fail because the questions are so many and there are so little time. And the weird thing is that all HRs knew about the available question banks online and didn't oppose to this misconduct, but instead calling this misconduct as preparation for the interviews as well, because there are a huge amount of interviews conducted at the company every day. So you will find a lot of job seekers are sharing their experience online to help others prepare. So gradually, the correct answers are expected to follow a rigid structure, as described by one of our interviewees as 8-legged essay for its resemblance with the historical stereotyped writing used in imperial examination in China. So the basic logic is that because there are only a limited and well-known potential interview questions, so gradually the answers become mature and identical. Now everyone uses the interview methodology. All you have to do is frame your experience in the structure and memorize it. Failure to do so, well, most certainly leads to rejection. And this again was confirmed by all HRs. So based on these 2 examples, our conclusion is that for the written test or for the interviews, the purpose seems to be actually to test their endurance, their submissiveness, and whether the candidate is willing enough to make enough preparation and to memorize the correct answers. It looks like despite it has a very lengthy process, the result is not based on their skills, their on-the-spot reactions, or based on their merit, but instead to maximize the likelihood of hiring submissive workers that are willing to conform to pre-existing rules. So we have finished the previous two parts, and the last part we will dive into the illusionary language framing that probably even some of us have personal experience. This part is also quite similar to borrow voice theory, so I won't go into detail of it, but there are still some quite interesting findings we would like to share. The first thing is about the deceptive perks. So for high-tech industry, we probably all hear about it. One of their major selling point is the lucrative salary and their wide benefits. But our research actually have found that such perks, such benefits can be used for exploitation as well. For example, the company often promise you that if you join, you will be able to enjoy 3 free meals. But in fact, if you want to actually have these 3 free meals, you will have to spend at least 10 hours a day in the company, because the canteen opening hour is 9 to 10 in the morning and 7 to 8 in the evening. And if you want taxi reimbursement, that's only available after 10. Moving on is about the illusion of workload control. Recruiters as a platform company in China often suggest that overtime is not compulsory as long as you can finish your KPI. You don't need to work the very abusive 996 working schedule. However, the company can also use technology surveillance with access to your calendar and your hourly output to calculate your daily KPI, meaning that for myself, when I was an intern there, and even for all my colleagues, our KPI was ever increasing through algorithm. One interviewee actually told us that today's best performance is tomorrow's basic requirement. So to summarize it up, through the 3 mechanisms by datafication and the interview process and the illusionary language framing, we argue that first, Chinese tech giants use tactical promotion of referral codes and exhaustive datafication of potential candidates' information stored in the talent pool to increase its market power. Secondly, the purpose of this lengthy hiring process is not to select the brightest, but to pre-manufacture consent, enabling high-tech company gatekeepers to signal and attract the ideally productive, committed, and submissive workers ready to be exploited. So that's the basic of our research. Thank you so much all for listening. If you have any comments or suggestions, please let us know. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Elif. I'm a PhD candidate in sociology at Boston University. Broadly, I'm also interested in economic sociology, work and occupations, and cultural sociology. And today I'm going to present one of the work in progress papers out of my dissertation. So, to start with, previous studies have shown us that customers exercise an important power over platform labor due to the importance of their evaluations for the platform. And this can create an antagonism between platform workers and customers. As a result, a number of studies have shown us that platform workers can resist to customers in different ways, for instance, by declining customer requests, threatening to end the contract, or filing disputes. However, the existing studies will not really elaborate on how building a relationship with customers can be empowering for platform workers, or more particularly, they don't really talk about how relationships and interactions with customers can, for instance, empower platform workers by increasing their autonomy over the labor process. So in that sense, my research aims to answer 2 interrelated questions. First question is, how does building a relationship with the consumers serve as a means of resistance for platform workers? And secondly, how do platform workers use their relationship with the consumers to resist against the control over their labor process? So to answer this these interrelated questions, I use content creators on YouTube as a case study of platform work. I know it's not a common thing in the platform labor literature, but I think content creators and social media platforms are an interesting case of platform work because payer and the consumer are often different people on these platforms. For instance, as you might already know, many platform work studies studied the platforms on my right side. And while these platforms have differences in many different ways, they share a very common feature, which is customers both pay for the labor and consume the product and service on the platforms. On the other hand, social media platforms generate revenue from advertisers mainly. In other words, advertisers pay social media platforms to show their ads on the platform, while audience consumes the content without necessarily paying for it. So how do advertisers pay for the labor of content creators, you might ask? They can pay both indirectly and directly. In terms of indirect payments, platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook share a part of their advertisement revenue with the creators based on some criteria. On YouTube, this criteria is creators need to exceed 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. In that sense, advertisers actually pay indirectly for the labor of content creators. However, they can also sponsor a content, and in that sense, they can pay directly for the labor of content creators as well. So this study is a case study of content creators in Turkey, and I find that Turkish content creators is an interesting empirical case because they need to figure out a puzzling situation because of the peculiarities of YouTube Turkey and ongoing economic crisis in Turkey. To start with the peculiarity of YouTube Turkey, you might already know that, but just to clarify for people who don't know very well, YouTube pays to content creators differently based on the language of content and also country of the audience. Since content creators in Turkey make content in Turkish, which primarily targets people in Turkey, they make relatively less money to content creators compared to content creators who make content in English and which can be consumed by people in many different countries. Because of this significantly less income through YouTube partner program, they rely more or less on paid sponsorships to make money out of content creation. And this financial importance of paid sponsorship increases advertisers' control over their labor process. However, on the other hand, if they focus too much on having frequently paid sponsorships and what advertisers want from them, that can conflict with what their audience expects from them. For some creators, audiences might not follow them because of learning about new products or services. So that can result in a decline in the attention and engagement of audience, as some studies have shown us. So based on this case, if I revisit my research questions, in this study, I'm trying to understand how does building a relationship with the audience serve as a means of resistance for content creators, and how creators use their relationship with the audience to resist against the control of advertisers over their labor process. So in terms of my sample and methods, I focus particularly on creators who make content with pecuniary interest. Both of them were engaging in YouTube partner program and paid sponsorships, like all creators in my sample, I mean. And this is a qualitative case study. So I conducted semi-structured in-depth interviews with 61 creator economy actors, such as content creators and intermediaries. By intermediaries, I mean like talent management professionals, influencer marketing professionals, or digital media experts. And I would be happy to chat more about my sample and methods in the Q&A if you have further questions regarding that. So before understanding how creators use their relationship with the audience to resist advertisers, I think first we need to clarify how they can build a relationship with the audience. And on this point, I argue that platform's business model plays an important role in this process. So, as I already mentioned, advertisers pay to social media platforms mainly. However, that does not mean that audience does not contribute to the income of the creator. By liking, clicking, viewing, sharing their content, actually they contribute to the income indirectly. However, since there is like no direct monetary exchange between the audience and the creator in the beginning, this enables creators build a relationship, intimate relationship with their audience. And if they're able to sustain their relationship and interest alignment with the audience, they can actually later monetize the engagement and attention of their audience in multiple ways, which I call as multiple income paths. I already talked about income through YouTube Partner Program, but additional income paths, creators can have their audience as channel members if they're able to turn their audience into a community, or audience can donate to creators by using YouTube Super Thanks feature as well. But because of the peculiarities of YouTube Turkey and also Turkey's ongoing economic crisis, majority of content creators said that paid sponsorships bring more money to them compared to other income paths. Therefore, this increases the control of advertisers over the creative decisions of content creators. How they intervene into creative decisions. First, they can intervene into how creators should integrate the promoted products or services into the content. And sometimes they can even be strict about the sentences that creators should use or avoid while promoting a product or service. However, despite the importance of advertisers to monetize content and make money out of content creation, I observed that some creators tend to resist more advertisers compared to others. And first variation came between part-time and full-time creators. I found that part-time content creators decline more sponsorship requests and certain demands of the advertisers to keep their audience engaged. One of the part-time content creators, Burcin, says, at the end of the day, we have a trust-based relationship with our followers. Some of them trust whatever we say. Abusing this trust will lead to losing our audience at some point. Accepting each sponsorship request will make no sense if we look at the big picture and think for the long run. So part-time content creators, although they sacrifice their short-term gain, for them, keeping the trust-based relationship with their followers will bring them long-term gain, and they can afford to lose these short-term gain with the help of their additional jobs, basically. I think what is more interesting is among the full-time content creators, I also see a variation. And I found that niche content creators decline more sponsorship requests and certain demands of the advertisers to keep the audience engaged. What I mean by niche content creator is they have a relatively small and homogeneous audience in terms of the audience's education level, class position, and age. A creator can go niche because of the genre or theme of their channel. For instance, if a creator is making content on independent, small budget movies instead of Hollywood movies, their audience will be relatively small compared to a creator who is making content on Hollywood movie industry in general. So it's based on that, actually. And Anıl is one of the niche content creators, and similar to Burçin, he is also very selective about which product to promote. For instance, he was declining cryptocurrency platform sponsorship requests because, as he says, I do not accept their requests as people might end up in wrong investment decisions because of trusting my recommendation. So how do then these niche content creators compensate for their having less sponsorships since they are full-time content creators? They concluded that they can compensate to a certain extent their short-term loss with the help of other income paths, such as channel memberships and donations. They can do that because niche content creators have, like as I said, relatively small audience. Therefore, it's easier for them to turn their audience into a community and develop a sense of community among the audience, I would say. For instance, Tuncay, as a niche content creator, says these people use these additional income paths more often because their advertiser pool is more restricted because of their selectiveness. And also, since they have a smaller audience, they cannot make, they make significantly less money through YouTube partner program as well. In that sense, these two income paths can be useful for them. However, here Turkey's economic situation comes into a play. For instance, same like Tuncay is making like around 6,000, 7,000 Turkish liras in a month from YouTube Join. However, since Turkey is going through a hyperinflation and constant devaluation of Turkish lira, this money becomes nothing in like few months. For instance, how much he makes is much less than the minimum wage in Turkey right now. And also, from the audience's perspective, since the economy is unstable and inflation is constantly increasing, they might just cancel channel memberships or stop donating to content creators. So it is not like a stable long-term compensation for the loss of like paid sponsorships, I would say. So since I have 1 minute left, just to give a brief overview of main takeaways from this project, I think I wanted to show with this project that business model of platforms matters for making consumers empowering or oppressive for platform workers. Also, we need to consider more the role of income paths, and this project aims to show how multiple income paths can increase the resistance capacity of platform workers besides part-time engagement with the platform work. However, I also wanted to highlight how the country's economic conditions play a role in shaping the capacity to utilize multiple income paths. So to conclude, future theoretical implications of this project, I think for the literature of platform work, this project highlights the importance of the role of business models and role of multiple income paths. But I'm still working on the second theoretical implication, to be honest, and I would be happy to hear your comments on this. For me, for the literature on work in general, what happens to customer control over the labor process when customer does not pay was an interesting question for me. And also, existing literature on work does not really focus on like how ongoing interactions between the customer affects the control and resistance at work. So I would be happy to hear more of your thoughts on these future theoretical implications, but thank you, just not to exceed my time.